You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today is Sunday the 4th of May 2025 and you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. 4th of May, also known as May the 4th or Star Wars Day. And I'm not really, I suppose there is something I'm going to do today to sort of celebrate that. So I do like Star Wars. I do think the extended media is all a little bit OTT and there's a bit much of it. But I've never watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi television series and I'm told it's very good. I think I watched a couple of episodes around a friend's before, but never really watched any more than that. So I'm going to make a concerted episode to watch 2 or 3 episodes of that today. I did actually watch episode 1 yesterday. It was quite slow, but I did enjoy it. But anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. So it's unusual. You'll be getting this podcast not long after lunchtime, which must mean I've done some writing. Well, yes, I have. So I decided today to look at chapter 2 of Empress of the Trees. If you remember, I actually printed it off, a couple of weeks ago, something like the 21st of April. And I got it printed for me in a hotel in Singapore. And I've obviously done nothing with it since then. I don't begrudge myself that. Sometimes it's quite sensible and necessary to have a little break. And obviously there was quite a big gap. So I only think I did 1 podcast in the last 8 or 9 days as well, in a planned way. It wasn't like I went, oh, I can't be bothered to do this, I'm not going to do it anymore. I did tell you all that I was having a break and I came back when I said I would. And yeah, anyway, so I read through chapter 2 today as a sign-off. And one of the things I felt I needed to do in that chapter, well, not specifically that chapter, but one of the things I had down, well, it turns out I didn't have it in my notes, which is weird, but one of the things I felt I needed to do at some point was to introduce the concept of the character of Carl Tucker. Now, Carl Tucker is the big bad, effectively. He's the bad guy in the book. And I wanted him to be a known presence. I wanted him to exist in the story, to have been mentioned before the first time we see him. And I was trying to think of a way of doing that. And there was a moment where George pops his head round the corner of the living room door, where Ronnie is, and I never stated what she was doing. So I decided that what she was doing was watching the telly. And she's channel hopping, and as she talks to her father, she stops channel hopping and it leaves it on a news channel, and there is an image of Carl Tucker, and it just says that he is somebody who supports industry over environmentalism, and she literally screws up her face and pokes her tongue out at him before continuing the conversation with her father. And it's great because it means he's there. It means he doesn't just turn up. It's in the second section of the book. The book's now in 5 sections, and I suspect he turns up in part 2 because he must do. Because part 1 is up until the point where Ronnie meets the tree spirit for the first time. Part 2 ends with the oxygen. With a test run of the trees proving to humanity, having delivered the directives, they prove by turning off the oxygen for a few days. Part 3, I think, ends with the cliffhanger that there are 2 factions of trees and one of them just wants to wipe out humanity. Part 4 ends with the majority of our characters ending up, absorbed in the trees as the world ends. And then obviously the last part is just what was meant to be just the epilogue, is 3 chapters set in the world after the end of the majority of the human race. Yeah, anyway, I probably didn't need to explain that in that level of detail, but it filled a couple of minutes. So Carl Tucker, who is my bad guy throughout the book, he's introduced in the second part, is now mentioned in the first part, which is nice because it just feels like he isn't suddenly there, which is really cool. So that's good. I did that, and then so I signed off chapter 2. And I never did chapter 3 on Grammarly, I've just realised. But yeah, so I've also signed off chapter 3. Well, actually, I meant to do it and then got distracted by editing some images in my title sequence. If you watch my Twitch stream, you'll know I have a little title sequence. It uses the same music that I use for this podcast, but it obviously has images with it, and I kind of played with the images and altered them, and I've suddenly realised that I was doing that when I should have been running chapter 3 through Grammarly. So as soon as I've done this, I shall run chapter 3 through Grammarly, and that leaves me with the first 4 chapters signed off. Now, if you remember me talking last month, that was kind of where I said I wanted to be when I got back from Singapore. Then I wanted to sign another few chapters off by the end of that month. Well, it didn't happen. I needed a break. I've been very productive this year, so I don't begrudge myself that. My targets haven't really changed. So my target for May, which I will tell you about now, is to continue editing Empress of the Trees. I would like to try and get at least a third of the way through it. Which is logical because because I've given myself to the end of July to do this. There's 43 chapters, so that's roughly 14 chapters a month I need to do, which is quite a solid turnaround. And of course, because I'd already done a couple before this, so I think the actual target I've set myself for the end of this month is the end of chapter 20. Now, bearing in mind I'm not working till the 19th, I've also read the first 6 chapters in detail, so all I really need to do is the formal sign-off that I've already done with chapters 2 and 3 today. I don't think getting to chapter 20 by the end of this month is unrealistic. There are 2 additional targets I need to set myself. The first one is to resubmit the English Hikikomori, because all 3 of the agents I sent it to have either rejected it or it's expired, so they all say they will get back to you within a certain time frame, and if they don't, you can assume that they are not interested. Well, those deadlines have all passed, so I need to submit the English Hikikomori to another 3 agents this month. And the other thing I need to do is to prepare Still Life for agents. Now, I have got another paperback copy, which I think is the final version, arriving in the next few days. I will read through it to make sure it's okay, but I imagine that is signed off now. So I need to prepare the package for agents for that. So that will be cool. And the other thing I would like to do this month, but I'm not going to set it as an absolute target, is to write or to finish writing that short story, part of my 60/40 collection. But that's kind of my final target, and I'm not too bothered if I do it or not. So once again, to reiterate, my targets for this month are to get up to chapter 20 of Empress of the Trees, second draft edited, to submit the English Hikikomori to 3 more agents, and to prepare my submission package for Still Life. Now, that doesn't mean I will necessarily submit it this month, although if I do get it done before the end of the month, there's no reason not to. I will. That means writing a synopsis. It is a little bit of work, and I will probably run that past. I think my friend the author T.G. Campbell is or was watching this, because this, as well as being a podcast, this is on a live stream, and you were watching it, but I think you've gone now. So when you listen to the podcast later, it probably won't be a surprise that I will ask you to just give my letter and synopsis a bit of a proofread, if that's okay. Anyway, so that's my targets for the month. Tomorrow I will come back and hopefully do another couple of chapters. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back at some point tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.